Hi, welcome back. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Mel Rentmeister, and in today's video I'm going to share with you 3 steps that have the potential to completely change your view on your life. Now, many people, maybe including you, have a certain perspective on life that is not exactly positive, which means maybe their life experiences, they've had maybe many life experiences which have been challenging, which have been sad, which have been painful, and maybe they have experienced a lot of suffering so far in their life, and therefore their outlook and their view and their perspective of life can be quite negative. Life is living life here in this dimension on this earth plane is just really hard. And so in this video now, if you're exactly where I described many people are at, then the first step I invite you to take is, I invite you, and I'll tell you in a minute now why, I invite you to just for an experiment or as an experiment, question all these beliefs that you may hold about life. Just question them for a second and say, what if they weren't actually so? What if they were just one perspective, but there are other perspectives out there which I could choose from? Now, the first aspect that could come up within you could be, yeah, that's easy for you to say, or that's easy for someone else to say who's had a cushy number, who's had a lucky life, who's had none of the experiences that I've had. It's easy for you to say that. And as soon as that comes up, acknowledge it, because again, it is a belief that is holding you back. And just for a moment, suspend this and say, maybe that perspective that the lucky person, there's no such thing, has on life, maybe that perspective is open to me too. And just question question your view of life the way it is right now, which means just question whether this is actually written in stone, truth and fact forevermore. The state, the level of consciousness that this type of perception of life comes from is an unconscious stage, which means our experiences, our programming, our patterns have created, and our interpretations of our life experiences have created that type of view of the world and onto life, which is totally understandable because this is how the mind can work. You're not questioning what happened to you, but you're questioning your approach to this. So with this said, the first step is be ready and willing to question everything about those beliefs. Say, what if they're not true? Okay, just open up to that. What if they're not true? Now what's next? The next thing is to, okay, so if there is no randomness, there is no, these bad things happen just by accident and it's unjust and it's unfair. What if there was, and what if you could see from your higher perspective, what if there was actually a system to your life, to everyone's life, to every planet's life, to the life in the cosmos, to everything? Because, I mean, we are in awe of how life works, how our body works, how nature works, how the universe works. So it is actually by observation that we find proof that there are systems working, universal systems working. And so when we move into our broader consciousness, okay, I'm a soul and I'm a soul on a journey. And right now we're in 3rd density. And this planet feels heavy, it feels distracting, it feels tough because of duality, because of polarity. And this polarity seems to be what causes suffering, right? Because there's not just light, there is the dark. We have to deal with this darkness, we have to deal with violence, we have to deal with aggression, we have to deal with selfishness, we have to deal with all this outside and within us. And so this seems to be the struggle. We have to deal with sickness, we have to deal with death, we have to deal with loss, we have to deal with all sorts of stuff, lack of safety, of financial resources. And this duality seems to be the cause of suffering, right? And on one level, that's true. Duality is actually, in this third density, the way. It's not the hindrance or the blockage or the roadblock on our journey to the light, or to happiness, or to bliss, or to more love, or to more joy. It is actually the path to it. And how do I mean this? I mean, it is the path to joy by choosing it. Because only in duality do we have actually the task. This is what life on planet Earth is about for third density beings, like for us. It's about the choice that we make. Every day, in every situation, do we choose the light or the darkness, the love or the fear, the service to others, service to self? What is our choice in every moment? Do we choose compassion versus aggression? Do we choose patience versus impatience? What do we choose? This is what this life is asking of us. And so once you start, that's the second step, to look at life from that point of view. What is life asking me to choose in that moment? Because those choices will get me to move more and more into one or the other direction. So the more you choose, let's say you want to have a happy, love-filled, bliss-filled life, the more you choose that in every day, the more you are on your path to it, and the more situations will come up in your life where you actually manifest it, because this is how you start to vibrate, because you're polarizing into that direction. As long as we're in the middle and we're passive and life happens to us and we are the victim of life, as long as this is our perspective, there are sometimes good things that happen, sometimes not so good things, and are really bad things. And we're just left in between, trying to interpret it and then developing a perspective. But we're not actually working on anything. We're not growing. And now another really, really important element of this duality portion, and especially the really difficult stuff about duality, is when we're presented with life situations, and that could be throughout the day, whether it's something that angers you, something that makes you sad, something that creates any kind of tension within you. Once we are faced with these situations or people, there is always, it's not random, and it's not punishment, and it's not, oops, that happened to you, tough. No, there is always a lesson in this. You've heard of this, Earth is a school. Once you start looking at each life situation, and now let's take the challenging ones, as an opportunity and a chance for you to polarize more, for you to decide in that moment, who do I want to live as? Who do I want to be? How do I want to be? It's so easy when we're surrounded by God-praising people and everybody is lucky and happy and cheerful and joyful and loving and compassionate. It's so easy to be the same. Once we realize that the challenges are the most precious aspects of the daily life, because they get us to grow, they get us to reflect, they get us to become conscious and choose consciously within that difficult situation how we want to be, how we want to step forward, how we want to act in the world, what we want to think about it, how we want to vibrate, like what we want to send out from our hearts. If we use those situations like that, we actually speed up our evolution greatly. And this is what life offers us, especially the challenging moments. So if you can now look at the challenging moments in life in that way and see them as they're the real lessons, the real treasures throughout the day, and I actually get to make choices in those moments. I get to see them for what they are. They're just lessons. And the magical thing is, I promise you, once you learn the lesson will disappear and you will no longer have it. And this brings us to the third step, which is actually the reflection upon those situations every day, that you start practicing reflecting those situations. Because what you will also notice is very quickly you will become aware of the triggering situations when you're in them, and sometimes even before they happen. You would know this is actually one of those situations that I can be grateful for at the end of the day, because it is asking me to master my life. If you look at life from that perspective, life is my teacher. Life is not ever something that goes against me. The setup, the system is something I co-created with, and I'm still co-creating. And everything in it has its place, and I can choose how I use it. So instead of being the victim of life, you become the one who uses life, because your life is your true spiritual teacher. It's exactly in those moments that I get to practice, that I get to put the meat on the bones, right? I get to do that in those moments. They're my moments of choice. And so you no longer, that will be the result of this, what I just said, these 3 steps, if you follow them. You will no longer feel like life is happening just to you and that it's unfair and unjust. You will actually notice that things will become much more easy, much easier, because you are learning your lessons. It's up to us to say yes to the challenges, to say yes to the lessons, to say yes. And if you say, well, who gave us those lessons? Maybe I don't want to learn them. That's a topic for a different video, but many of you know already you did. You chose the lessons. You knew what you wanted to learn. It's very simple in a way, these 3 steps, but it does require dedication. It does require, okay, I'm going to test this, I'm going to try it. And maybe you try it as an experiment for, let's say, a week, and you forgive yourself for not responding the way you would have liked to. It's really very, very important to forgive those bits and to appreciate them and thank especially the difficult moments of your life in the past or on that day. This has truly transformative potential. Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you for today, and we'll talk again next time if you want to.